Alright, class, let's get started with unit number 2. This unit and its focus is going to be on foreign policy, and the two main subheadings underneath that would be imperialism and World War I. Our first unit was focusing on within the borders of the United States, domestic policy. This one, as mentioned, about foreign policy. And we're going to start with imperialism, and specifically, we're going to start with the Spanish-American War. So let's get to the key concepts. What factors led the United States to attack Cuba? Okay, and we'll have to be careful with that wording, attacking Cuba. And secondly, what was the Spanish-American War? What were the results? What did the results say about the United States' position on imperialism? So let's get started. The key vocab, protectorate, which is probably the toughest one to understand, so we'll work on that, make sure we have a good understanding of that. Yellow journalism, and remember the Maine. The Spanish-American War. Obviously, the United States is going to get involved in a war, but how does it come to be, and what does it mean for the United States and its foreign policy, our dealings with other nations across the world? So let's start with Cuba. And the Spanish-American War is fought mainly in Cuba. And at least that's where it begins, but it's not America fighting Cubans. Cuba actually is controlled by the country of Spain, and we are going to Cuba to fight on behalf of the Cubans who are seeking independence from Spain. Okay? That is what they are fighting for. We are sympathetic to their cause, and that has a lot to do with our revolutionary history. We were colonies, the United States were colonies once under the English Empire. We didn't like it. We broke free from it, what we considered oppression, and we're kind of thinking Cuba has the same thing going on with them at this time. And that's how or why we get involved in the Spanish-American War. With that said about our sympathetic cause to Cuba, we actually look for a reason than just sympathy to send a bunch of soldiers over to Cuba and fight in a war for somebody else's independence. And we're going to find the best reason to go over there and fight is found in the sinking of the USS Maine. It's an American ship. It is sunk off the coast of Cuba, and the yellow journalism that exists during the time really promotes the sinking to be an attack by the Spanish on Americans. Okay. Whether that's true or not, you'll end up doing some research on that and finding out for yourself. But that is one of the main reasons that we do go to war against the Spanish in Cuba in the year 1898. So, in 1898, the Spanish-American War begins. And at this time, the Spanish are a weaker global power. They've been losing power for some time now, and the United States is able to focus a lot of its attention on this war in particular. And because of it, the United States, the Spanish-American War is going to be a rather short war, also ending in 1898. Now, when the United States experiences its victory, the Spanish are going to give concessions to the United States. And those concessions take the form of territories that the Spanish once occupied. The Spanish occupied Guam, Philippines, and Puerto Rico in addition to Cuba. Well, Cuba's freed, but the United States has been given control of Guam, the Philippines, and Puerto Rico. Now the United States has a question that they have to answer, and that is, does the United States keep and hang on to these territories and really start to make its way toward becoming a global and imperial power? Or does the United States do basically what it was fighting for in Cuba, and that was to do they give these countries their independence? And that question is answered by the United States choosing to become an imperial power and hang on to these other territories. And to hang on to them, they don't just choose to do it and everything is all well in the world, but they actually have to fight to hang on to these different territories, the Philippines, Guam. Okay, that's where the United States stands after the Spanish-American Wars. We start to see the transition of the United States believing that it needs to become involved on a worldwide scale, an imperial scale. And we're going to see that play out over the next up until 1914 when World War I begins, and we'll see how they react to the happenings that go on in Europe. I almost forgot, everybody. I was going to tell a joke on this video. So, this is the first joke that I'm going to tell in these videos. Katie, it's a special shout out to you since you came up with this brilliant idea. The joke is, let's see if you can get the answer to this. Who invented fractions? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Give up? The answer is Henry the 1/4. Adios.